Hey everybody, welcome to Will and Drew's Gaming Retrospective. You're listening to episode 137 for the week of August 15th, 2021. I'm your host, Drew, and I am joined by the man who's returned from vacation wearing a white and red soccer jersey.
Yes.
It's Will. What's going on, dude?
How are you, man? I typically don't do sports, right? Everyone knows this.
Yeah.
But I still have this jersey because I like the way that soccer jerseys fit my body.
Well, I mean, if it's comfortable, go with it, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they just fit me so well. Damien can attest to this. Him and I definitely bought one together, as strange as that sounds. We were at a Dick's once. This is getting really weird. We were at a Dick's Sporting Goods once, and we saw a couple soccer jerseys, and we bought them.
Nice.
And I think it's just he went off on my lead and just understood that with my experience with them, they've always fit so well. And he's like, you know what, I'm gonna, let me try this. And he bought this like Italian one, and I'm pretty sure he still has it.
Probably.
He used to wear it all the time.
Is it a small soccer jersey? I think that's my question.
Likely.
Yeah.
Very likely.
Yeah. So for the viewers that are tuning into the Twitch stream, you may notice that we are already having some wonderful times with the lip sync and the cameras, something that has been plaguing this basically for the past 20 episodes, it seems now.
Ugh.
So if you see Will shut his webcam off temporarily, he will be back. And we apologize in advance for that.
Yeah. Yeah. I wish we had a good reason for this, but we still don't.
Yeah, unfortunately. Well, we got a lot to talk about today. So why don't we get the business out of the way real quick? First of all, thank you to everybody who's tuning in. You are listening to Will and Drew's Gaming Retrospective. You can find us on the web at WDGRpodcast.com, or you can find us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at WDGR Podcast. It's at WDGR Podcast. You can find me on Twitter at ScionStorm. And Will, if somebody would like to find you, how can they do so?
Certainly. SoundCloud.com/Will_gear.
Excellent. And let's see here. I think I had two lower thirds going at the same time, so that was fun. I'm a little rusty,
Cool.
man. I'm a little rusty. I missed a week, and Dave and I did a local recording last week. We haven't been on stream in a while. You were on vacation.
I was.
So tell us about that.
Yes. It was very much needed. I was really tired, and so was Lauren, and we were just tired, I think, from life and work. And what was nice about this vacation is it was more of a staycation, and it's exactly what we needed. Originally, we were planning this big Washington, D.C. trip, and it just got really overwhelming really fast. And a lot of the museums and places that she wanted to book were sold out, and they also had weird hours. And I was just really off-put by it, and I said, you know what, let's just cancel this whole thing. She was a little bit upset. But we also realized that it was like 5 hours away and another, obviously, 5 hours to get home. And I was like, you know what? I really think that we're probably in better shape just doing some day trips. And that's exactly what we did. We did Mystic on Tuesday into Wednesday. That was pretty fun. And then the rest of the time, we just did very, very local day trips. 5 minutes down the road, 20 minutes down the road to go get ice cream, and Jersey Mike's, which I'm happy to report was quite good.
Oh, nice.
For the vegetarian. And the rest of the time I just did a lot of reading. I did a lot of music, a ton of music.
Yeah.
And it was great, man. I finished 2 books that I've been reading for a while, so it felt really good to complete something. And I think ultimately it felt good to just be back in the music studio again, the Hans Gruber Memorial Soundstage, as you would call it. And I whipped out just the trusty MIDI controller this time, my big keyboard. And I did what I know I do best. And I did some world music, I did some synthwave, and one trailer piece as well. And it was just really satisfying to kind of get back to it and just kind of test my chops. And it was great, man. I honestly had a good vacation. In most cases, I would say that it's never long enough.
Yeah.
But this one actually felt long enough for once.
Yeah. Yeah. It sounds like you're much more refreshed than you were,
Oh, yeah. 100%. I felt pretty good going into today. I was a little bit sad and depressed. We both were because we had such a nice vacation, and to have to go back today knowing that we had hundreds of emails to attend to. It was daunting, but
Yeah.
it turned out to be good. We all went on a nice walk, me and a group of some of the teammates, and that's traditionally something that we do at least 3-4 times a week.
Mm-hmm.
So it was good. I don't know, man. It was a really good vacation. It was a really good day, for a Monday, considering I was gone for technically over a week if you count the weekends.
Sure.
But man, I really checked out too. So when I got to work, I thought that I was gonna have a really hard time refamiliarizing myself with what it is that I do here. But thankfully, it just kind of clicked, and I was like, yeah, I remember what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And there were no fires to put out. I thought there was going to be some fires that happened while I was away, but there wasn't.
Yeah.
So ultimately, man, I really can't complain. I didn't do a ton of gaming, but I did enough to report on a game that I've been wanting to play for a while. So
Mm-hmm. I'm very much looking forward to hearing you chat about that. I know this has been on the back burner for a while, so
it has.
yeah.
How about you, man?
Well, I was not on vacation, but I did have a really nice weekend. I got to spend some time with some former colleagues that I haven't seen in years. Well, it seems like years. Actually, I think before the pandemic was the last time. So I'd have to really think about when the last time we got together was. It was definitely before March of 2020.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, man, it was really nice to kind of get together. We all met up at one of my boys' houses, Killer Ciroc, actually. He hosted us, and we had a nice little barbecue. He's got this whole area patio that he built outside his home that really kind of looks like the tribunal section for Survivor, where they vote people off the island. They've got the torches, they've got the fire pit and everything. And, I wasn't sure I was going to be coming home that night, but
Oh my God, that's amazing.
yeah, man. But it was really nice. My buddy Dwayne made the best jerk chicken I think I've ever had in my life. And it was the right balance of spice and I'm drooling just thinking about it, right? And then I got home way too fucking late. This is the latest I've been outside the house since
This was last night?
This was Saturday night.
Saturday
Gotcha.
night.
So I didn't get home until 12:30. And,
Oof.
He's about half an hour away. So I was at his house until about, midnight. And, oh, man, I regretted that.
I bet, man.
I was feeling that. And then yesterday, I got to take a drive up to the Berkshires with Vic and Bency and Damien. And, we hit a couple spots that we've been eyeing for a while. There's a distillery. They make whiskey and gin and vodka and rum. I've been wanting to go there for a while, so we stopped there, and I'm happy to say I found some pretty good whiskeys that I like. I ended up picking up one of them. It's actually a combination of a whiskey that they make themselves, and then they barrel it in Sam Adams beer, a barrel that was formerly used for aging Boston lager. So it's got a little bit of the Boston lager flavor to it. It's got that nice American whiskey flavor to it. It was a lot smoother than I expected. And this place was fantastic, man. They have essentially a tasting room that you can go in, but because of COVID, they're not allowing people to taste the whiskeys inside. So they have this beautiful area outside set up. Chairs you could sit down on. There's plenty of shade, nice tables that you can relax at, and they give you these flights on a stave, and so you have this 5 free sips of whiskey. It's I want to say maybe one finger's worth, right? Less than a proper shot, but enough to get a good taste. You're going to get 2 or 3 sips out of each one, and they got maybe a dozen plus varieties there that they make. If you include the gin and the vodka and the rum as well. It was a really nice spot. They make their own maple syrup as well too, and they finish the maple syrup in the whiskey barrels. So there's a little bit of a whiskey flavor to the syrup, and then of course there's a syrup flavored whiskey, so there's a little bit of syrup flavor in that, and there's this whole kind of synergy going on. But man, it was wonderful. We found this incredible spot for lunch. It's one of those places that you drive by and you see just a line of people right?
Mm-hmm.
A huge line in the parking lot, just stretching out to where the cars are. And I've driven by it before when I've been up in that area, and it's like one of those spots where you like think to yourself, man, this is probably really good. I got to go there.
Mm-hmm.
So we did, and we waited in line probably half an hour just to place our food order. And it's just a shack, with a couple windows. They have a window for ordering and a window for pickups. And when you order, they give you a little buzzer. And then behind the shack is this picturesque view of the Berkshire Mountains. Just jaw-droppingly beautiful, man. Just absolutely gorgeous.
I believe it.
So we're sitting outside. We're eating our lunch, and I had this amazing chicken sandwich, these wonderful, like, garlic herb fries, and just, it was the perfect day, Will. It was so beautiful, just relaxing. I can't get over how wonderful a day it was. And then we went hiking to a spot in New York called Bash Bish Falls, which I've actually been to before. A few years back ago, we took a trip into Kopek, New York, and we stopped at the falls on the way up. Well, I guess it was only 20 minutes from where we were at, so we decided to go back, and we hiked up that, and unfortunately a lot of the waterfall is closed off to the public, but you can still get up there and kind of get a nice view. And it was just, man, it was a really nice day. And even though we did a lot of stuff and there was a lot of driving, I just felt really good, man. Just very at peace,
That's amazing to hear, man. The photos definitely prove it. You guys looked really happy, and the weather was astounding yesterday.
Yeah, we couldn't have asked for a better day. So I'm thrilled to have had the opportunity. And, unfortunately today I mowed a lawn, but, what do you
Well, it's Monday.
Well, yeah, it's Monday. Yeah. So I was taking care of some yard work for my folks, but that's about it, man. That was my weekend. So.
Well, that's awesome. It's not often that as adults with our wives and our lives that it's easy to get together. So I'm glad that you guys were able to do it.
Yeah, me too. It was nice to have a guys trip. I definitely feel bad left the ladies out on this one, especially because I think initially people thought that it was going to be kind of like a big group trip, and
Sure.
I just need some guy time, So
it's essential.
It's essential. So I'm glad that we had that opportunity. I am looking forward to going back up there again as a larger group where we could do, most of the same stuff again or do something different. Because there's so much up there, man. I wanted to hit a couple breweries and never got to, but we had a packed day, and it was worth it. It was worth it.
Awesome.
So
awesome. Well, definitely count me in next time because that sounds like a grand old time.
Yeah, man. You guys would love it. It was a lot of fun. So.
Love to hear it, man.
So, what do you want to start with today, man? We got a lot of topics to talk about.
We do. Let's see here. I'm gonna pull up Trello. I already have it open.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about the vacation. We talked about your Berkshires trip, as Lauren is like. Lauren and I like to always say Berkshires because we're big Lord of the Rings fans.
Mm-hmm.
I really want to talk about Death Stranding real quick.
Yeah.
I spent some time with this game. Now, again, for folks that are uninitiated with some of my previous history with this game, it's not very wide. I've only played this game for, I don't know, probably like an hour or so, if that, forever ago when it came out. And then I just recently picked it up again. I've owned the digital copy, so I didn't have to buy it or anything, but reinstalled it. It's kind of trending right now with the director's cut coming out soon. And I was like, you know what? I'm just ready to play this game. I don't know what it is. I just am. I'm going to run with it. I'm not going to question it too much. And I feel like I owe it to myself given the fact that it's a Kojima game.
Mm-hmm.
And what I can say so far is it's what I remember playing, because obviously I played the same opening sequence again.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of it was familiar, but a lot of it I didn't remember. And I forgot how... And this, I actually quoted this in my notes here. It's a very haunting yet fascinating experience. And the reason why I say this is because it really is a kind of a frightening game. Like it's kind of being, or it's kind of like being trapped in like this really weird, bizarre nightmare. And it's because all of the things that are happening and all of the images and the sequences that you're witnessing are just really strange. It's a very strange game, and I really have no idea what's going on. For example, the game starts and you're watching Sam, who's the main character, Norman Reedus, that you play. His name is Sam Porter Bridges. and he's on this really cool bike, like
Mm-hmm.
this futuristic looking bike, and he's driving through the wilderness, like pretty much like a mountainous kind of landscape, very similar to Shadow of the Colossus in a lot of ways. Like it just reminds me of a really sort of barren, overcast sky version of Scotland. And there's music playing, and you're like, all right, this is kind of neat. I don't really know what's happening, but all right. That's definitely Norman Reedus. Like, even if you don't know who he is, you recognize his face because they did such a good job with the mocap and everything.
Yeah.
So this is happening. There's kind of weird music playing, and eventually, it starts raining. You lose your bike. It falls off of a cliff, and you start learning the controls. And immediately you're just like, all right, I've got packages I've got to pick up for some reason. I can store them on my back or I can hold them. And I've got a hood on. It's raining. I've got a weird device. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm just going to run around and try and follow the tutorials. So that's kind of the opening of the game. And eventually you look for shelter and you see this sort of cave opening. And you get to the cave and you start hiding from this sort of invisible monster that shows up where you can only see footprints. And it's really eerie because each footprint that kind of hits the mud, you'll see it form in the mud, and then these sort of talons come out of the end of the sort of fingers, or like the feet, like your toes, like the toes of
Right.
these feet that are pressing into the mud. You see like these talons kind of pop out. It's very strange. So you know that this thing is kind of sinister.
Mm-hmm.
And you have this other woman who's there with you, and you don't know who she is. And you guys are both just like hiding in this cave, trying to stay away from these footprints. And this is literally happening within 5-10 minutes of the game.
Mm.
So you don't know what's going on. You don't know what this invisible monster is, if it even is a monster. But all you know is that you're hiding from it. You have a conversation with her. You don't really know who she is quite yet. She knows who you are. And you sort of had this weird introduction. She leaves. And then you pick up a few more packages and you make your way to like a weird sort of home base area.
Mm.
And once you get there, you drop off your packages, you complete your first sort of prologue mission. And then all this like crazy shit starts happening, and you start like learning about other characters and beings, and you get picked up by this dude in a really weird tall pickup truck that can go up and down like sort of hydraulics. And you take a ride with him, and all this other crazy shit happens. He starts stabbing himself. He gets eaten by this giant, huge being. Like, I don't even know if it's a monster. It's just this giant figure that's
Mm-hmm.
probably taller than, I don't know. Like, if you stacked the World Trade Centers when they were formerly still there, and you stack those like 5 times up,
Mm-hmm.
that's how tall this thing is.
Oh wow.
And that's driving the pickup truck gets consumed by this thing.
Okay.
I can't even explain it because like what you're seeing you can't even comprehend. Like there's a weird hand on the top of this thing's head that swallows him whole, and as he's going up he's stabbing himself, and I'm just like, the fuck is going on in this game, man?
Yeah.
It is like an absolute mind fuck. So it's terrifying, it's haunting, but you're also fascinated by it because you want to understand what's happening. And that for me right now is keeping me engaged. And I don't really know who anyone is. I don't know what my purpose is. I don't know why I'm collecting packages because I'm too early on into the game.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't care, man. This game has me kind of caught. I'm not really sure why. I don't know if I care to question why. I just want to play more of it.
Mm.
And I really don't want to distort that. I don't want to question it too much. I just want to run with it because I don't want to fall off this wagon.
Okay.
But right now, I'm pretty sure I'm carrying my dead mom or some shit on my back. So that's kind of where I left off. And that is my first impressions of Death Stranding.
Have you gotten the baby yet?
I mean, sort of, I think. Like, I got to that famous scene that you see in trailers where, Sam is on a beach. He's naked. He's holding a crying baby. He's crying. The baby's crying. You're staring off into the ocean. Some weird lady in red starts walking out into the ocean. There are like dead whales and shit washed up on shore. There's weird like strands of blackness that are coming from the sky, and then it eventually says Death Stranding. It is by far the strangest game I've ever played, and I've only played, I think, only an hour or so. I wasn't counting, but like I don't know what's going on. I really don't. And I know it's kind of like a weird, potentially poor first impressions review, but that is literally what I've experienced. I
Mm.
cannot describe it in any more detail.
In
But
in
I
yeah,
am excited to discuss more with you.
in the
This game sounds terrible, Dave says.
yeah, epic outro in the chat there. I got to agree with him, honestly. um, I don't.
But it's not like I wish I could explain it to you, Dave, but there is something really fascinating about this experience. And I know that it's probably, I'm not doing a great job selling it, but the visuals speak a lot for themselves because they're really, really good. It looks like
Yeah.
a next gen game and when it was originally on PS4. And I don't know. I'm kind of excited to experience this sort of hiking simulator that people kind of compare it to.
In Catalyst is ad, Kevin says, "Sounds like a fever dream. You feeling okay?"
Yeah, like it's kind of like do you know the artist Salvador Dali?
Of course, yeah.
It's kind of like that. Like there's a lot of potential references to his work or maybe some inspiration from what he's done.
Okay,
I don't know, man. It's just a wildly disturbing experience, which is typically not a game that I would ever go near.
but it's
But
Kojima, so
it is Kojima, and I don't know, man. I want to spend more time with it, and I think ultimately it really just boils down to wanting to understand the experience and wanting to understand what this gameplay is going to be like.
Killer Sirach says Kojima writes scripts whilst on mushrooms. I mean
Wouldn't surprise me, man.
that may be true. Um, man, I
I'm actually surprised, and maybe I'm just living under a rock because I haven't really spoken to anybody that's played this game, except for Damien a little bit.
mm,
But Damien spoke about it as though it was like playing Mario Kart. He's like, "Oh man, it's so fun," and I'm just like, "That's not what I'm getting from it right now. I'm getting it like this is a Salvador Dali dream, nightmare, I should say, on
oh,
mushrooms." Because that's what the first hour's like.
I can't even compare this like anything that I've seen from this game to Mario Kart in like the slightest way.
Yeah, not at all. But that you know how Damien is. Like he was just
Oh my
like
god.
riffing about how great it was, and I hopefully will have that same reaction, or maybe I'll be able to understand his
Mm.
joyous review. But right now, there's nothing joyous about this game.
Yeah, Epic Outro says it's like the Mushroom Kingdom. Oh, that's funny, man. Um, yeah, I mean, like, it seems to me that this is the type of game that you really have to kind of earn the good parts in, you know?
Yeah,
You
yeah,
have to kind of deal with the confusion that you're going through right now before a lot of it starts to make sense.
exactly.
So I am extremely curious to see where this goes for you, man. I, I
I
don't.
can't stop thinking about it, Drew.
That's that's good, but why'd you pick such a fucking weird game, man?
I don't know, man. I remember, again, a lot of this from my first playthrough, but
Mm,
the fact that I've gotten a little bit further this time, it's just gotten more weird.
mm-hmm,
And I'm carrying a corpse on my back,
mm-hmm.
and she's all bandaged up, and I'm carrying it as though I've done it before, which is also kind of weird. So yeah, man, it's not the greatest first impressions review, but I kind of knew going into this that this was going to be a little bit of a sort of mishmash.
Mm,
But that's okay. There's really no way to judge a game this early on,
no.
especially when it's as weird as this.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, keep us posted, man. Let us
Oh,
know.
I will.
Let us know where this goes, and I'm very curious to see how this all shakes out.
Yeah,
So,
likewise.
um, cool, man. Well, I've been playing Hades on Game Pass.
Mm.
This is a really bad month for Game Pass, and I mean that in the best of ways, because they're just dropping like some really hot games this month. They just came out with The Ascent last week. About a week and a half or 2 weeks ago, came out with Microsoft Flight Simulator. Hades came out on Friday. I'm pretty sure this week or next week is 12 minutes, which I'm super amped about. I only have so much time, dude. And like I was talking with Damien about this yesterday. He's like, "Why don't you fucking finish one game before you move on to the next?" And He's
Spoken like a true prophet.
he's right, but I'm just so excited about some of these releases that I am like compelled to like bounce from one to the next.
Sure.
So right now I'm all about Hades, and I think that this might be the one to stick all the way through for a while, man. I have only put in, I want to say maybe 3, 4 like solid hours of gameplay. I've certainly had the game loaded longer than that, but you know, I'll sit down, I'll go through a run, and then maybe I'll get up and I'll do the dishes, and I'll come back and I'll do another run, and then I'll go and like fold some laundry, and you know, all that kind of stuff, right? So
Hmm.
it's rarely a continuous like single play, but man, it is just, it's got its hooks in me, dude. I think it really clicked this afternoon when I was playing. The game is an isometric uh, brawler, very similar to Supergiant's other release. You know, you have Transistor, you have
Yep. Bastion.
Bastion, was it? Yeah. So it's that same view, very similar kind of art style, you know, but a very distinct art style, I think. And
It looks great.
it looks phenomenal. It runs silky smooth. I haven't had any slowdown, any freezing whatsoever. And there's a ton of dialogue in this game, and it's all voice acted. Every bit of dialogue that you read, there's a voice actor for. And you are dealing with essentially all of the Greek gods. You
Hmm.
know, one at a time you're encountering them, and it's usually to help you in your quest. And you are playing as the lead character's name is Zagreus. I guess he's like
Hmm.
the prince of the underworld. I'm really not good with my mythology, but he's the son of Hades, and he is trying to escape the house of Hades. And Hades is like, "Fuck you! You're not getting out of here. You can't." And as he's progressing through the different realms trying to escape, he's got to deal with all these different enemies, right? And essentially, what's happening is you're going into a room and you're clearing it of all the enemies that are in the room. And then once you've cleared it, a boon drops, which will enhance your character temporarily. And then you move on to the next room. And you could choose, like, you kind of have an inkling which door you're going in based on a symbol that shows you whether it corresponds with a god or if it corresponds with a like currency that you could pick up or whatever the case is. So you go into the next room, you clear all the enemies in there, you pick up the next item, move on to the next one. You basically wash, rinse, and repeat. But the thing is that it's a roguelike. So all this shit is randomized, right? The rooms,
Hmm.
the order that's presented to you, it's randomized. The enemies that appear, randomized. The boons that you get, randomized. And when you die, only certain types of progress is carried with you into your next run. So you basically have items that will persist throughout the game permanently, and you have items that are only persisting during your specific instance, your current life, so to speak. Once you die, you go back to the House of Hades, you start all over again. So each time you go through those items that you earn that are permanent, you can go into the House of Hades and start exploring and chatting with people and upgrading your skills so that the next time you go through, you're a little stronger.
Hmm.
Maybe that's a different weapon. Maybe it's a perk that increases your critical hits. Maybe it's a perk that allows you to revive when you die one time. You get half your life back, and then if you die a second time, then that time is for real. Or perhaps it's a sword or a bow and arrow or a shield that you use like fucking Captain America. Or I just before we recorded, I just unlocked fists. I guess there's some kind of gauntlets that you can wear and you punch the crap out of stuff. And I haven't had an actual run with them yet, but I do have them now, so I'm looking forward to checking those out. And then there's also these elixirs that you can give to the different gods, and as you're talking to them, you're kind of gaining their favor. And I guess something about the elixir they like. So let's say I'm talking with Persephone, right, or Achilles. I can go up to Achilles and I can say, hey man, here's an elixir. And he'll be like, oh, thank you so much. Here's an item that you can use that you can have forever. And that item might be something along the lines of making me faster, or it might, give me a 10% increase on, one particular currency, or maybe it'll allow my hits from behind to cause more damage, or maybe it gives me extra life. There's all these different perks that you can use, but you can only wear one of them at a time. So as you go through and you start giving more and more elixir to these different gods, you're gaining favor with them. They're giving you something in return, and then you have to kind of cater your play style to that particular item.
Mm-hmm.
It gets even deeper than that, though, because those items level up. So that 10% boost, if you get the item to level 2, might now become 15% or 20%, And that makes a huge difference, especially when you start getting the boons in the game that also affect your stats, that make the weapons more efficient, your special attacks more efficient, and it just kind of snowballs. And you can feel yourself growing more powerful each time you die and you go back in, once you start investing in these different things. It's a lot of fun, man. There's a lot to keep track of. There's you're rebuilding the House of Hades as you go. So there's one currency that you can use to unlock new areas within the house. Maybe for example, there's a musician that I'm trying to essentially free at the moment. He's locked up. I'm trying to get him free. And I'm assuming that once I free him, now we'll have an area where there's music and, more of the gods can hang out. I really don't know. There's a bar that you can go into, and in the bar there's a character that trades goods. So I can say I want a key, which I can use the keys to unlock new weapons. But, maybe he'll give me one, but I have to give him something else in return. So maybe I'll give him 5 elixirs. Not a particularly good deal, but those are the types of options that you have, and it's just it just gets more and more vast the further in I get. That musician, I have to give him some sort of a diamond. I don't have the diamond yet. I don't know how I'm going to get the diamond. I assume I'll figure it out sooner or later, but and then, this afternoon, it really clicked because I was struggling on this one boss. And I don't know what it was, but that run, everything was just lining up. All the boons from the different gods that I was encountering, I was just picking the right ones, and everything was just lining up, and I was able to finally beat that boss. And I was so excited, man. And then I go into the next area. This is a brand new area that I haven't been in yet, and I just get destroyed, just absolutely wrecked. So I get to do it all again.
God bless roguelites.
But I was a big fan of Dead Cells when that came out on the Xbox, and as much as I liked that game, I didn't have that urge for one more run like I do with this game. I can't wait to sit down and play it again, and even if I don't have a ton of time to put in, I can pause and save mid-game and come back to it later. It'll pick me up right where I left off. 10 to 15 minutes in that game, you can clear a couple rooms in and you start getting some nice power-ups for your guy.
Sure.
So I'm hoping that I'll get a little bit more time with it tonight before I go to bed. I don't know if that's going to happen, but fingers crossed, man. It's cool. I know it's on PlayStation. Can't recommend it enough. So when you're done with Death Stranding, pick this up, man.
Yeah, I really like what Supergiant puts out for the most part. I shouldn't say missed, but I didn't play, I can't remember the name of it now. It was the one that came out after Transistor, I believe.
Yeah, they had 3 games, right?
3 after Transistor?
No. 3 games total, this would be the 4th then.
Yeah. So it was the one after Transistor, I believe. Because it was
Pyre.
Bastion. Yes.
Pyre.
Yeah.
I completely forgot about this game.
Yeah, so Pyre is pretty unique. I know Joe knows a lot about it, and he was a big fan of it. And I think it's some sort of weird basketball game, technically. He'll probably chime in on Wednesday to kind of fill us in. But I just love their art style. I love their gameplay that they're able to create. And I really cherished Transistor a lot.
Yeah.
Bastion was cool, but I really enjoyed Transistor a lot more.
Transistor is certainly on my list of games to get to. I do buy it, or excuse me, I don't know why I can't talk today. I did buy it. I can't remember if I got it for Switch or PS4. I want to say it's on Switch because I played Bastion on Switch.
I think you'll probably like Transistor because the gameplay of Hades looks very similar from what I've seen. And that isometric view is still there, just like how you see it in Bastion and everything. So, I don't know. I think it's going to fit the bill.
Yeah,
I hope it does.
I'm looking forward to checking it out. It's something that I've kind of had backlogged for a while. So, in the chat, Kevin is talking about the Ascent. He says he's been enjoying the Ascent lately, and I do plan on getting back to that. But what I was finding with the Ascent is there were a lot of things that they were just not explaining properly that I kind of was left with questions, and it wasn't like a necessarily a thing where, it would be explained down the line. It wasn't like a story element that was strategically left out. Like I kept picking up articles of clothing, but there was no obvious way to actually use them. And when I would go into my inventory, they didn't exist. And maybe I just wasn't looking in the right place. But it was like these little types of things like that, where it's like, if these things are meaningless, then why are you dropping them, right? When it came to guns or armor, that was a little bit more crystal clear. And ultimately, those are the things that really matter. The way my character looks doesn't really matter, especially when you really can't see their face anyway. Mm-hmm. But I definitely want to get back to it. From what I was playing, it was a lot of fun. The music, the soundtrack in The Ascent is awesome. I mean...
My God, it is amazing, dude. I'm so glad that you linked it to me.
Yeah. It is just this wonderful blend of like Ghost in the Shell and Blade Runner, and I adore it. Absolutely adore it.
Yeah, it definitely reminded me of some sort of epic anime mixed with some like Vangelis, from Blade Runner, like that kind of stuff. Yep. That whole aesthetic is there, and man, it just it was refreshing to hear something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, but I think I'll probably sample 12 minutes. When is that coming out? Let me look it up for real.
Is that the game where you're in the back of a car or something like that?
No, that's Road 96. I don't have a release date for that. 12 minutes is the top-down time travel one where you're like,
right.
It's got Willem Dafoe in it, and there's a few other actors too, which names are escaping me at the moment. Let me see if I can find it. But it looks like really good, and I'm hoping that it lives up to the hype that I've kind of given it for myself. It's basically you're replaying the same set of events through a 12-minute cycle in order to try and solve a mystery. So
that one's gonna be really interesting.
Yeah, and that's coming out on the 19th, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be on Game Pass. I'm like 90% sure, but not 100%. So I've been really hyped for that one. The first time I saw that was at the Game Awards last year, and I just I lost my shit. So Killer Sirach says James McAvoy's in it, so he's a pretty good actor too.
Yeah, I recognize that name.
Mm-hmm. It's gonna be a good August, man. There's been some great games already. I think Psychonauts 2 is coming out soon. When's that coming out? There's no date on that. Lady Jedi from the horrible Star Wars movies.
Well, which are the horrible Star Wars movies?
Yeah, it's a broad statement.
I mean, I'm gonna make an assumption and say the newer ones.
Yeah. Well, I don't think it's Daisy Ridley, so anyway, James McAvoy, Willem Dafoe, Annapurna Interactive is the publisher. So
yeah, they published Sayonara Wild Hearts.
Did they?
Yeah.
They do a lot of indie games. It seems like they're kind of like stepping up to the plate and trying to go like toe-to-toe with Devolver. I don't know.
Yeah, that's true. I was just laughing at what Dave said.
There are no horrible Star Wars movies. Fight me. We'll talk about that tomorrow, Dave. Anyway.
That's like a whole podcast right there. Like a 4-hour one.
It really is. Oh, it is Daisy Ridley. Okay, my mistake. All right. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing how that pans out, though. We don't get a lot of games that are driven by like actual actors anymore, you know. And,
No, typically not.
and I kind of miss the days of like those FMV games like Command and Conquer and Wing Commander. You know how they had the cheesy acting in it. Mark Hamill, you know, acting across from a giant cat. So, oh god.
Whenever I find out that a real-time actor was in a game, I always find out way later.
Mm.
Like, for example, L.A. Noire,
Mm-hmm.
I know starred a dude from Mad Men. I mean, he's not a huge actor, but he's definitely like a legit actor that's mostly in movies and TV. Um, and there have been a few others
Mm-hmm.
here and there as well. I can't remember Mark Hamill and a giant cat.
Yeah, jotting down
That's
the
a great
episode.
episode title. And there's been others. Like I'm pretty sure Vin Diesel was in the Riddick games, I think.
He was, but he's like Vin Diesel. I want to say like actually owns the rights to the character Riddick at this point. He is so like involved in the creative process with that character.
Yeah.
You know, and that's something that he takes very seriously. So
Yeah, can't blame him. I think it's kind of his one little thing
yeah, yeah.
outside of the Furious movies.
Right. It's kind of like Hugh Jackman and Wolverine. You know, he's like synonymous with that character now.
Exactly.
So.
And Hugh Jackman is so versatile that most of his work is not Wolverine, but I think these guys treat those little characters as like their little babies.
Yeah.
Which I respect.
Yeah, totally, man. So let's see here. Yeah, I mean that's about all I've got for Hades, man. What else you want to talk about today? We got a little bit more time.
Yeah, Hades is cool, man. I'm also happy to see that more people are playing the Ascent
Mm-hmm.
because it looked like a game that might have slipped under the radar, and it doesn't seem to be happening. I'm seeing a lot of sort of press about this game. I think it's pretty hot, and I really do feel like it's shaping up to be that sort of spiritual successor to the failed Cyberpunk universe.
Yeah.
This is a universe that people can now dabble in. It's not quite the same, but it's done really well from what I've seen.
Yeah, I mean it's certainly scratching that itch. You know, the world of the Ascent feels very organic in all the right ways. You know, it feels very dirty, very lived in. You know, you have those neon signs, but underneath that flash is like a layer of grime. You know,
Yes, grit.
very gritty, yeah. Very industrial feeling, and you know when you kind of get into the story and you learn about what's going on there, you know it all fits the motif. But it's vastly different from Cyberpunk in a lot of ways, and I feel like Cyberpunk really should have been better. You know what I mean? It makes me so sad. I'm gonna wait on Cyberpunk until they actually release the patch for the next gen systems. Then maybe I'll make a decision and fire it up again. I've kind of moved on.
Yeah, I mean, I can't blame you.
Yeah.
I think most people have.
Yeah. So Killer Sirach says, in my country, if Rise of Skywalker is your favorite movie, right to jail.
Right to jail.
Oh man. That's a nice Parks and Rec reference there. Oh man. So yeah, I'll hopefully have more to report on Hades soon. I've heard people that have been just able to just fly through this game, beat it, you know, with almost no extra boons or anything like that. Just kind of like the speedrunning community has certainly fallen in love with it. I don't see myself doing any of those cool things. I'm just going to play it until I beat it, and hopefully, you know, it won't take me longer than it should. So
Yeah, well, you made a good point before regarding roguelites. I think, excuse me, the most important aspect to remember is if you can develop a sense of one more run, that's what keeps you coming back. And I think not all roguelikes have that ability to bring you back for that one last run. And I think Returnal, I'm grateful that typically I do want to do one more run, and it's not always easy to find that. So it's nice that you're finding that in Hades.
The thing with Returnal that frustrates me the most, especially considering how good the game is the fact that you can't save in the middle of a run. And a game like
Mm-hmm.
Hades proves that it's possible to do that. So this
Mm-hmm.
team made a conscious decision for whatever reason not to allow saves when you're in the middle of a run. And that just it just seems like it's punishment to me. Like there's being difficult and then there's being harsh. It's too.
Yeah, I would put Sekiro and Returnal in the same category as in terms of games that are incredibly well made and the gameplay is so freaking good, but they're so hard and so frustrating that you have to step away from something that is so good, and that in itself is frustrating. Like I really want to play Returnal,
Mm-hmm.
but the fact that it is so difficult and I keep getting a reset back to the ship, I get the whole concept, but man, it could be really disheartening because when you're in the thick of it and things are good, things are great, but man, when you get reset, sometimes it's just such a bummer and you're like, I don't know if I can do this again. I
Mm.
mean, typically I'll go back for more runs, but I hit a limit. And after about, I don't know, like 6 or 7, I'm like, I think it's time to call it a night
Right, but I mean,
because I just want to progress and I can't.
those games aren't meant for you to play, for hours and hours and hours like that. Like it's okay to
They're
just
not.
get a handful of runs and walk away because of that repetition. The
Yeah.
problem is, just having all of that thrown away if you have to go to bed and your system has a reset for whatever reason. You know, like if
Yeah.
there's an update, boom, your suspended game is gone.
Yeah. And I agree with what Kevin said there. He said people who are really good at roguelike games aggravate me.
Mm.
I mean, I don't know if it aggravates me, but I definitely feel envious sometimes because I'm
Hmm.
like, man, I wish I could pull this off.
Yeah.
And progress further more quickly.
Yeah.
I know that Colin on Last Stand Media or Sacred Symbols, he talked about somebody that he knew that beat the game in a couple days. And Colin's like, dude, I've been gaming my whole life, and not to like sound like a dick, but I'm pretty good at games, and I've been playing this game for like 3 months, and it's been like my full-time job to play this game. And this person that I know beat it in 3 days, and I'm like, I can relate to that.
Mm.
I'm envious, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, there is an element of luck with all roguelikes, and Kevin is name dropping FTL in the chat as well too, which is another roguelike game that is pretty beloved and extremely difficult. But just like in FTL or Hades or um, you know, uh, Returnal, Into the Breach is another roguelike game. There's so many roguelikes out there now. There's going to be this element of randomness that can really work in your favor or really work against you.
Yeah.
And like that's part of the charm, but that's also part of the weakness at the same time. And I think the key is to find a game that is able to balance both so that if you get a bad hand delivered, like with Hades, you start out and the first thing that you see is a boon that you pick up and they give you a choice of 3 things from that boon, but all of them are effective, even if it's not necessarily catered to your first choice of playstyle. Like you can adapt it to what you're doing, and as you go through, yeah, there's going to be some that are better than others, but they're all kind of pretty equal. Like you're still going to see your character get stronger and stronger and stronger as you go through on a run. You're not just going to get screwed over because of bad power-ups or just random chance.
Yeah, and the most frustrating thing about Returnal is, it's random, of course, with the weapon drops, and there are some runs where I would get a handgun right before the boss, and I'm like, are you kidding me? I had such a smooth run. I have the worst gun, and now I won't be able to beat her.
Right.
And then the times that you do have the right gun, you die to something else. So I get that it's part of it, but I think I have an adjustment phase I need to get through because I'm new to roguelikes.
Mm.
So it's important for me to spend more time with that kind of game style.
I mean, do you think it's the type of thing where maybe you need to play some other ones before you get into Returnal any further, or if it's just stick with Returnal and adapt your mind to the way the game wants you to work?
I think there's pros and cons to both aspects there. I think
Mm.
you raise a good point that maybe getting to something that's a little less harsh might have been better. Jumping right into Returnal, not playing a lot of roguelikes is probably not the greatest idea because you will have to learn what they're like, and I definitely had to go through that process because I didn't understand that roguelikes have random weapon drops and stuff, so I thought that I was like missing something. And then once I found out, I was like, oh, this is not just me.
Yeah.
This is just this game genre that I really know nothing about. So
Yeah.
that was kind of a relief.
I'm trying to think of something that you specifically would like that is not so punishingly frustrating. And I think Hades might actually be the the answer, you know,
Could be.
because it's a developer you like doing a genre more or less that you like with the roguelike elements,
Hmm.
and you will get that sense of becoming more and more powerful as you go, you know, regardless
Hmm.
of what weapon you're using or what boons you're handed. So
I think also intertwining the aspect of Greek mythology is pretty cool too.
yeah, I mean, I don't know too much about it, but you know, it seems like all the characters are kind of playing their roles uh, as they've always been, you know, written.
Yeah.
So, and there's quite a few of the Greek gods too. It's a thorough cast. The voice acting is quite good, and you can pet Cerberus, so that's fun.
Yeah, and that's something I forgot to mention before, and I might have mentioned it on a previous episode, but Supergiant Games, they're so good at making wholly original experiences.
Mm,
I mean, to think that somebody would make a roguelike such as this, and then also intertwine the sort of Greek mythology and these figures and characters, I just think that I've never seen anything like this before.
yeah,
And same with Transistor, same with Bastion. Like, Bastion is such a unique game. Didn't love it, but the principle of having a game where the world is falling apart as you progress and also building at the same time, it was incredible.
yeah. I mean, I'll certainly always give them credit for trying new things. You know, they're great at doing that, and they release quality shit. So
Yeah, they really do. They're very polished games too. I don't think I ever experienced any blemishes whenever I played a Supergiant game.
Pencil Burn in the Twitch chat says Hades is just so smooth, effortless. I can pick up that game after months of not playing and continue the same save. And
Mm,
yeah, like I was concerned because I had played it Saturday and then I didn't touch it again until today. And you know, like I know it's only 2 days, but for me that could be a lifetime when it's, you know, a brand new game and I really haven't had too much time to play with it. And
of course.
it immediately felt familiar. It immediately felt comfortable, and I was just kind of able to progress. And even if you kind of lose track of the story, everything is linear enough where it doesn't really matter. There's only one direction you can go, and that's forward. You know,
Hmm.
you don't
Hmm.
have to worry about getting lost in this open world. You don't have to worry about which boons you had in the last run because at the start of the next run, start from scratch. You know,
Sure.
so yeah.
Yeah, it looks like a blast, man. Whenever I see gameplay, I'm like, man, this game looks so fun, and that's
Mm,
exactly why I bought it.
yeah. Got to get that Steam Deck, dude.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, for folks that don't know, I do actually own this game. I own it on my MacBook Air and technically my iMac. It doesn't run on the iMac for long-winded reasons. It does run on the MacBook Air, but not great. And I need a controller. So I was using the PS3 controller at the time. Sounded like the computer was going to take off. The fans are supposed to work in that manner, so that's okay. But yeah, I don't think I'm even gonna go down that road. I'm just gonna get it for PS5 and call it a day.
I think that's wise, you know, quite
It's just
frankly.
easier.
Yeah, and it's going to be more comfortable for you, you know.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
just full stop. So,
I don't want to play that on a 13-inch screen.
no. No. I wouldn't either. And like I know there's a lot of people that didn't play it on PC, but they played it on Switch, and I know a lot of those people used it for handheld. Um and I commend you. But this game is gorgeous and it is wonderful looking at it on my 65-inch TV, and
Oh,
I can't
yeah.
imagine being restricted to a small screen. But if that's the only way you have to play it, like by all means, you know.
Yeah, yeah, you're right, man. I don't really understand how people play on such small screens. I'm not really a portable guy, so I
Mm.
guess I'm biased in that sense. But man, I just there's some games that I just feel like the gamer's being robbed of wide visuals by not playing it on something larger.
Mm. Yeah, I think it's the portability of it that's appealing, and being able to bring the same game with you from point A to point B and pick up where you left off, you know? Because I used to play
Yeah.
the crap out of my Game Boy Advance and my DS when I had it, you know? I would go to
Yeah.
work and I'd be sitting at retail jobs where there's no customers and just start playing, you know? So,
Yeah.
yeah, Pencilburn says he played Breath of the Wild on the Switch screen and it was great. And, yeah, so anyway.
Yeah, regarding Pencil Burn, your comment there about Breath of the Wild, I actually felt like I was the only person on the planet that played that on the Wii U gamepad. It was like one of those games that like everybody was like madly in love with, but everybody bought it on the Switch, and I think a lot of people forgot that it actually released on the Wii U as well. It was like a legit release. And everyone was playing on the Switch at the time. I was playing on the Wii U gamepad, which sucks. That screen is terrible. And man, it's just weird to think about.
Yeah, absolutely.
Dave's such a jerk.
I wasn't going to say
I
anything.
should have known that one was coming.
I shouldn't have said. I wasn't going to say anything. So
I gotta get Dave over here one day.
yeah, so he can pick on your TV in person.
Yeah. I shouldn't be inviting him
No.
for this very reason.
No, he's gonna rip you apart with his matter of fact humor.
Yes.
So. All right, man. So I think we have one final topic before we call it a night.
We do.
So-
We do. A difficult topic to announce, but it is necessary at this point.
Take it away.
I think the only people that know about this at this point are close friends and family, coworkers, ironically, and folks in Discord. So if you are not a part of Discord, and even if you are and you have not seen in our announcements channel, I am leaving the show. May come as a large surprise to most, and that's perfectly acceptable. It's been a surprise for, I think, Drew and I as well, but something that I felt like was necessary. A short-winded answer to all of this as to why I'm leaving is life. Life got busy, and life gets busy as we get older, and for me, it was hard for me to maintain the sort of level of work that goes into making this show what it is. And I'm a 100% kind of guy, and I've chosen to step away for a lot of different reasons. That being one of them. Work has gotten busier. I've been given more responsibility, which is great. But also, it's given me more stress, I think, outside of the workplace. And it's good and bad, but I think that it was starting to kind of wear on me a little bit. And, you know, my focuses have shifted towards my music and reading and spending more time with my wife and my cats and, you know, traveling eventually. And it all just became a bit too much. And a real honest reason as to why I'm leaving, you know, there really isn't anything pressing besides the truth that life just got busy for me. And doing this show takes a lot of work for both Drew and myself, and it just wasn't becoming feasible for me anymore. And I'm going to miss it. It was a very, very difficult decision for me to make, but I knew it was the right move. And I'm really proud of what we've done. I'm really proud of what we still do. We still have, obviously, this episode. We have 2 more. Our last one is at the end of the month, which we're really excited for. It's probably going to be pretty long, and hopefully no tears. But we can't promise anything because, look, the bottom line is Drew and I have been doing this show since November of 2018, and I've held a lot of different jobs. We've had some life changes. I've moved. There's just been a lot going on, and I think I had to just accept that life changes and things get in the way. And with the podcast, it's like a second job. It really is. It's not easy what we do. We don't just simply step behind the camera every Monday and just kind of wing it. There's a lot of planning. There's a lot of social media marketing. There's a lot that goes into this, and I'm going to miss that. But right now, at this point in my life, there isn't the right time to invest the kind of time that I want to invest in it to make it the quality that it's been. And I hope that that makes sense to everybody, to all of the listeners. I'm going to miss all of you greatly. I'm going to miss doing this with Drew. It's been an absolute wild, wild ride. And I think, again, we're just really proud that we were able to do a real bucket list item. You know, doing a video game podcast has been a dream of Drew's, a dream of mine. And I'm really grateful that I've been able to do it with, somebody that I can now call a really good friend. Because I didn't even know Drew that well
No.
when we first started doing this. I was only getting to know him, and now we're exceptional friends. And I don't want anything getting in the way of that either. So, friendship with Drew is way more valuable than the show, and I want to put that first.
Yeah. I don't really have much else to add to that, man. I mean, like, you kind of hit me right here, man. So, um,
Yeah, it's like I said, it was challenging, man. This was not an easy decision for me to make by any means.
sure. Yeah, I know. And, like you said, it was a bucket list item, and something that I had always wanted to do was a video game podcast. And I just needed to find the right person. And then, one day in the barcade, we're chatting, and you said, "Oh man, I'd love to do a podcast." And I'm like,
Finally.
my time has come.
Yeah, and for me, I was really lucky to work with you because you're really skilled at what you do when it comes to editing and all things kind of media, and you have podcast experience. So for me, it was a real dream because I was like, man, I'm working with basically a professional here, and I was always told like, hey, you've got a good radio voice, you should do something with it, and I wasn't doing anything with it.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a good opportunity and a good outlet for me to explore the realm of podcasting, and it's amazing how many people do podcasts now. It really is.
Yeah. It when I had the pro wrestling show, there really wasn't that many podcasts out there. It was kind of like the Wild West, and in a way that I kind of wish I had the video game show then, because if I had been with it, like, I could have been like a big thing, it could have been like this huge show. Now in 2021, we're like a drop in the ocean. So, what it comes down to is like, is it fun? And like, I'm going to miss doing this. Like, it's a lot of fun, but it is work.
It is a lot of fun,
But
but
it is-
it is work.
Yeah.
And that's exactly it. I think the most amazing thing about it is that we made it this far. We never had a timeline. We never talked about like, hey, let's do this for 5 years. Let's do it for 10. We just kind of went in, and I'm so proud of that because most people talk and plan and never just start. And I'm really glad that we just, had that conversation at Barcade, had that conversation in my driveway, and just said, let's do this. Let's try it, see where it goes.
Right.
And yeah, we're not Joe Rogan. We likely never would have been, but that was never the plan. That was never the goal for us. We just wanted to do something that we really loved. And I don't think it ever truly felt like work. Yes, is it work? Of course, but it still never felt like just work. It was work and mostly fun. And I think that's the most important thing.
Yeah.
And we were talking about something that we truly love.
Yeah, man. I've been exposed to some amazing people through this show and had the opportunity to play video games that I never would have played under any other circumstances. So,
Yeah.
This has been a lot of fun. It's been a wild ride, and I'm going to miss doing this with you, man, but I'm excited for you too.
Yeah. On a positive note, it'll give me more time to spend time with you in person and to play games together and to, like you said, not always talk about the show whenever we see each other in person, which will be a little bit of a relief.
Yeah.
Because we're very much turned on all the time. And, more time to write more music. I really enjoy doing music. It's a big passion of mine, and it's really grown into something that I didn't think that it would grow into. It started out just messing around with a keyboard, and now I feel like I'm making real music, and it's something that I really want to continue. And it's one of the few things out of all my hobbies that brings me a huge amount of joy. So I feel like that's definitely where my heart needs to be right now.
Yep. And I'm glad that you recognize that and you're pursuing it, man, because I think it's going to be more fulfilling for you,
I think so. It's a little bit more flexible because obviously I just do it whenever. And, again, being part of a podcast is a huge commitment.
Right.
And I recommend to anybody that's trying to do this, just understand that you're walking into something that's a commitment. And if you're okay with that, then do it.
Yep. Absolutely. So we have 2 more shows coming up. Next week will be a regular show, and then the following week will be our extravaganza. So if you're listening to us and you've never been a part of our Twitch stream, we'd love to have you come by the last 2 weeks, especially the last week. And, if you've been, only a handful of times, mark your calendar, try and come on by. We'd love to have you say hello and say goodbye to us. Our Discord community will be staying open, and we'd really like to have you be a part of that too. So hit up our website or hit up our social media, or even just check the show notes. There's going to be a link for our Discord in the show notes, and come on by, say hello. If you haven't yet, now's the time, because after episode 139, you're not going to hear a plug like this again for a while. So, but what else? There was something else that I want to say. Oh, for those of you that are Patreon subscribers, August is our final month. In September, billing is suspended, and we will be closing the Patreon permanently. But if you'd still like to support us one last time, you can during the entire month of August. We have a bunch of episodes up right now covering a number of great video game movies. And I use the term great very loosely. So, feel free to stop on by and check that out at patreon.com/WDGR Podcast. But for those of you that are already subscribers, or even if you are a future subscriber, please know that for September in 2021, that will be suspended and there will be no further charges. So yeah, that's kind of the somber business out of the way. Will, if somebody would like to find you and your music, how can they do so?
Yeah, it's going to be soundcloud.com/Will_gear. Eventually, I'll probably be expanding my music to YouTube. That's on the horizon. But yeah, that's where you can find me right now.
Excellent. And you can find me on Twitter at ScionStorm. That's my personal handle. Of course, the show is at WDGR Podcast on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And I think that's going to do it for tonight. So thanks for tuning in, everybody. And we'll see you next week.
We'll see you.